I actually didn't know that this series was coming out until I was actually watching Daredevil with my boyfriend. Well, we were watching the first season of Daredevil, and I came across Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm like, okay, well, why not? I mean, they've already tainted Star Wars with everything else. They can't make this bad. And they kind of did. What I mean by that is, even though that this show is decent, the story itself is decent. There are questions that are in this story that we asked from the original, you can probably say maybe the original trilogy as well as the prequels. And especially when it came to Uncle Owen and Obi-Wan, why was there animosity or tension between those two? And it made sense, especially the fact that he adopted him as a young boy and knew who his father was. And that was a really interesting part of the story. But there are several issues, and I'm going to narrow it down to 3. And there's more than one, but it would make this video incredibly long. So what I'm going to do is just narrow it down to 3. Let's go into issue number 3. Reva. Inquisitor Reva is probably the most arbitrary character there is. There's really no significance to her, and they're doing their best to make her a primary character when she should be a tertiary character or a secondary character. She shouldn't have this much importance, and it seems like she has more importance than Obi-Wan. And that's the one thing that bothers me. Disney has been consistently putting secondary and tertiary characters in the forefront instead of the primary character. And the primary character always has to be second fiddle to his own show. And that's the one thing that bothers me about anything that Disney creates, whether it's Marvel or Star Wars. Now, let's go into the second problem. Obi-Wan is a secondary character in his story. Even though it is nice to see a lot of arc, or at least a lot of responses when it comes to Ewan McGregor. Sorry, I can't say his name. But Ewan McGregor is an amazing actor. The fact that he's able to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi and do it so well, especially the scenes where he finds out that Anakin is alive, you actually do feel something there. He's an amazing actor. And Ewan McGregor is probably the best choice to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the issue is he's secondary to his own show. If you took the Inquisitors out of this, and if you took Inquisitor Reva or the third sister out of this, then it would, in my opinion, it would be a better story, because it would pretty much involve Obi-Wan and how he would get to that point before he got so old. Now, we all remember him in the original trilogy played by Alec Guinness, the late great Alec Guinness, and how he was able to interact with Luke when Luke was a young man. That's how it should be. Now, the fact that they incorporated Leia in this, at first I didn't really have any issues with it. And I'm going to get into my first problem. But at first when I watched this, I didn't really have any issues with it, mainly because we never had a chance to get to know Leia that much. We knew very little about her. We didn't have a chance to see Alderaan because Alderaan was blown up. For those that haven't seen the original trilogy, spoilers, even though it's a 40-year-old spoiler, but it is spoilers. But we never saw Alderaan because Alderaan blew up. We never had a chance to see Leia, or at least know a lot about her, besides the fact that she's a leader. So knowing a little bit more about her, actually seeing her home world, seeing her family life, seeing Bail Organa, the fact that he's a senator. I guess his wife's a queen. I guess she's the queen of Alderaan. I don't know the whole... I don't really know how the government works. They didn't really go into that. But I guess she's a queen, even though her original mother... was actually Padme Amidala was actually a queen of Naboo, so she was a queen regardless. So, which makes Luke a prince. But anyway, I'm gonna bypass that. But let's go into the first problem that I have with this series. The continuity is pretty much dead. Like it's not even all over the place. It's just officially dead. And the reason why I say that, because even though they have hints of what might have happened or what did happen, especially when it came between Obi-Wan Kenobi and when it came to Uncle Owen, that was an interesting twist. Like, you really want to know exactly what was going on between those two. But then it was also the huge continuity slam two ways. Number one, when Inquisitor Reva found out that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader, when there was only one person that was there to see him transform into Vader, and that was the Emperor. So how would she know? Even going into his chamber and seeing him in the bacta tank, how would she even know who he is? Like, no one would really know. And Reva was a child when he was actually a Jedi. And whenever she came in as a youngling, we have no idea if she came in before he turned to the dark side or after. So how would she even know? That's a huge continuity error, because the only person that was there was the Emperor. Now let's get to the major continuity issue that pretty much shatters the original trilogy. And I'm talking about the fact that Obi-Wan interacted with Leia as a child. Because everyone remembers that infamous speech when she left that message inside of R2-D2 that was found by Luke when he bought R2-D2. And also he came across Obi-Wan's message and gave it to Obi-Wan. She did not know him. She only heard of him through her father. So she didn't know him at the time. And the fact that she was calling on him, she knew that he could help him through her dad, Bail Organa. So the fact that you have Obi-Wan interacting with Leia at this moment changes everything about the original trilogy. The only reason why they went on that quest was because of that message. The only reason how Luke became a Jedi was because of that message. His whole journey started there. And the fact that you actually have Leia interacting with Obi-Wan now changes everything about the continuity. And that bothered me a lot. That was just something that I just couldn't shake, because I grew up with the original trilogy. I even was a teenager around the time of the prequels, or pretty much close to being a young adult. But either or, I was around both of them. So seeing that being completely changed just to create a story for a character that they just wrote in, yep, Inquisitor Reva was never on Rebels, was never a part of the continuity. They just created her for this show. And I know people are like, well, they created Casca Reeves, just for Sasha Banks. Yeah, but Sasha Banks was a tertiary character. She only had several lines and that was it. This woman is pretty much part of the show. A huge part of the show, which she really shouldn't be at all. Now, I have no issues at all with the actress, and I don't agree with anyone harassing her because of the character she plays, but I don't like Inquisitor Reva because she's not that important, but they're trying to make her important. The same thing with Leia. They're trying to make Leia too important. And yes, she was important to the war. She was important to the cause. She was important to the rebellion. I am not going to deny that. But the fact that they have Obi-Wan interacting with her now, how are they going to fix this? And I don't think they can. Because she was a young adult when she made that message. And honestly, after Rogue One went straight into A New Hope. And how are they going to fix that too? Like, I don't know. The fact is, they're ruining their own continuity because they really have ran out of stories. Even though there's no excuse here. Because Star Wars is an extended universe. It's not like Marvel. Marvel is an expansive universe. You can pretty much do whatever you want with an expansive universe. Even though I consider the multiverse being a creative cop-out because you just want to start over because you're running out of ideas. But it is an expansive universe to where you're able to do that. But when it comes to Star Wars, it has been linear for 40 years. It has had continuity added onto it like a stack of dominoes. And everything has had its place. From whatever happened in the movies to whatever happened in the actual novels, which I actually do have Vector Prime, the original one before it became Legends. And that is by far one of my favorite stories. But to be honest with you, it has always been completely linear and had a strong foundation for almost 40 years or 40 plus years. And the fact that they're doing this, I think it has been 40. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But anyhow, when it comes to being extended universe, there's only so much you can add in there without ruining the continuity. And they pretty much obliterated it. They practically just threw a bomb on it, blew it up, and trying to start over again. And it just can't work that way because they didn't have their hands on the original product. So the fact that they added Inquisitor Reva, the fact that Reva knows about Anakin Skywalker, and don't say the Force, please don't, that's a cop-out. But the fact that she knows who he is, and the fact that you have Obi-Wan interacting with Leia at this point in time ruins the original trilogy. It makes no sense anymore. It really doesn't. Is this show bad because of it? If lore-wise, continuity-wise, yes, this is terrible. But when it comes to a story being put together all at once, something different, no, it's not bad. That's why it's a mixed bag with me. I am a huge fan of Star Wars, and honestly, continuity-wise, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But as for a story itself and the fact that I'm able to see Alderaan and see and hear a little bit more about Leia, even though I would like to know a little bit more about Luke, because even though the original trilogy was about Luke's arc, they did a good job by having the secondary characters have arcs too. But in this case, they kind of erased anything about Luke, put too much in there about Leia, put too much in there about Inquisitor Reva, and then have Obi-Wan somehow sandwiched in there. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. As for episode 3, it was meh, to be honest with you. I understand that Obi-Wan is completely rusty. He has been out of the game for many, many years now. But good grief. It just wasn't that good. Even though they really did try to build something between, a father-daughter relationship between Leia and Obi-Wan. The thing is, it still doesn't make any sense. The continuity doesn't make any sense, and it still bothers me. But yeah, I know everybody's gonna be all having a nerdgasm seeing, Darth Vader there pretty much wrecking fools, thrown up against the wall, cracking necks and all that other stuff. But the fact is, Darth Vader being seen now should be seen at the climax of the show. And I think it's only going to be 6 episodes of the series, which in my opinion, it should have been towards the end and not the 3rd episode. But man, I don't know. I'm not even hyped. I wasn't even hyped to see him with his armor on. I really wasn't. And the fact that he's that obsessed with Obi-Wan, sure, I get it. Obi-Wan, but the thing is, it was 10 years ago. I'm just now thinking, this is 10 years later. So you're having Darth Vader come out going after Obi-Wan after 10 years. I mean, Protocol 66? That happened 10 years ago. So they did everything they could to hunt down the Jedi Knight. So you're telling me around the time of Alec Guinness, that means that what Darth Vader just gave up? He just gave up looking for him? And he went back to building the Death Star? I really want to care about the series. I really do. But I can't. Because the continuity is just fudged. It is all messed up, man. None of it makes sense anymore. I really don't even want to continue for the next 4 episodes. It's just meaningless to me. And this episode was just there.